Culturally, we pitch marriage as the union of two families, but for the traditional daughter-in-law, it often requires the total abandonment of her previous communities. Take the story of Jyoti and her husband, Gaurav. Gaurav's family expected Jyoti to immediately step into the role of primary domestic caretaker, essentially a replacement for his mother, Meena, so she could finally retire from the kitchen. But on Jyoti's very first day, during her own welcoming ceremony, she receives an urgent call. Without hesitation, she transfers 10,000 rupees to a friend who was short on college fees. To Jyoti, marriage was an expansion, an addition to an already full life. But to her in-laws, it was a trade. She gained a home, and in exchange, she was expected to leave the world behind. When a person's entire social ecosystem collides with a household that demands total isolation, the relationship begins to fracture under the weight of opposing worlds. To understand why this marriage collapsed in exactly 30 days, we have to look at the household as a closed loop versus an open network. For Meena, the home is a fortress. It's a space where care, energy, and resources must only flow inward toward the immediate family. Jyoti's life is mapped differently. These are her 5 spheres of care. There is the central node of her in-laws, but branching out from her are 4 other distinct circles: her parents, her friends, her neighbors, and her colleagues. The friction began with Sphere 1, her parents. When her mother had a heart attack scare on Jyoti's first day, she left immediately. To the in-laws, leaving before the rituals were complete was a violation of traditional optics. Then came Sphere 2, her colleagues. When her boss fell ill and had no one to care for him, Jyoti didn't hesitate to cook for him and invite him into the home. In a traditional framework, every act of outside care is interpreted as a theft. Time spent on a neighbor or a friend is seen as energy stolen from the people who believe they now own her exclusive attention. The tension escalated with Sphere 3, her neighbors. When a dying neighbor needed support late at night, Jyoti rushed out to his bedside. Gaurav didn't see a woman fulfilling a moral duty to her community. He saw drama, a performance meant to pull her away from her domestic responsibilities. The marriage was being pulled apart by a silent conflict. Jyoti assumed a modern partner would value her empathy. Gaurav relied on traditional entitlement, expecting her to be present without ever asking why she felt the need to leave. This reached a climax on their 1-month anniversary. Gaurav and Meena spent the evening decorating the bedroom, a gesture designed to assert their exclusive claim over Jyoti's world. At that same moment, Sphere 4 intervened. A friend was stranded at the train station and called Jyoti in a panic. She was forced to choose between an uncommunicated surprise at home and an urgent emergency at the station. She chose her friend. She left the house without a word, leaving her husband and mother-in-law alone in a room filled with decorations. Unspoken rules and hidden expectations create a pressure that few relationships can withstand. Without a common language for her life outside the walls, the two worlds were bound to eventually collide. The collision was total. Gaurav, feeling his authority challenged, locked Jyoti out of the house. By the next morning, he had sent her divorce papers. It is a strange punishment. Jyoti wasn't divorced for neglect or malice. She was discarded because she was a highly functional, deeply empathetic pillar of a community that didn't stop at her front door. This highlights a persistent societal trap. Traditional domestic models often treat a woman's empathy as a finite resource, labeling any care extended to the outside world as a betrayal of the family. A more resilient marriage requires moving past the walled fortress model toward a base camp. In this model, the foundation doesn't just hold up walls, it anchors the connections to the wider world, allowing external networks to pulse and thrive alongside the home. Modern partnership requires a different definition of the household, not as a cage that severs a woman's identity, but as a shared foundation that integrates all of her families into one life.